In this video, we're going to discuss the 3 different autofocus settings available to you on your DSLR. Autofocus is a feature that is frankly indispensable to all of us as photographers. It allows us to focus quickly on objects and get it really sharp and fantastic. But what's interesting, as I said before, is there are 3 different modes on your camera to be able to do this. So let me just explain and give you the names of the different modes. The first is known on a Canon camera, one shot. On pretty much every other camera, it will be labeled as AFS, or autofocus single. There is one that's called, again on Canon cameras, AI servo, and on every other camera it'll usually be labeled as AFC for continuous. And the last is on a Canon camera, AI focus, which for them it stands for artificial intelligence focus, and on every other camera it's usually AFA for autofocus automatic. So what are the difference between these settings? The first is on that the autofocus single shot, or one shot as Canon will call it, is it's expecting that your subject is going to be staying in the same focus plane. It's not moving about, it's just sitting there and it's still in its location. For continuous, what it's doing is, instead of just merely you pressing down and focusing halfway and you hear that beep and then you take your shot, you keep your finger down halfway and it's going to track that object as it goes back and forth and is running around. Why is that important? Well, if you had just gone ahead and pressed it down halfway and focused on their object there, and then it starts going towards you, you'll notice I'm getting out of focus now. If it was on that continuous mode while I was taking the picture instead, it would end up tracking it and keeping focus and following it on your subject at the same time. This is particularly important when your subject is having motion going forward like this. You'll notice how pronounced the change is in the focus versus if your subject is going side to side. You can see I'm still staying somewhat in focus there. As I go further out, a little bit less here and there, but still far more in focus than when I'm coming front and back. So this is a really helpful setting for sports, for things like if someone's walking down the aisle, if they're coming in a race and they're just coming race over time, one after another, and you want to be able to track that subject and make sure they're staying in focus that whole time. That last one, AI focus, or also known as just AFA, this is the one that when you're on the green auto setting, you are stuck on. And as you can imagine, I'm going to say, don't ever go on this. Here's the reason why. In this focus mode, right now what it is trying to do is, your camera is trying to decide, is my subject matter sitting still or is it moving? Now perhaps 5 years from now this technology will be great, but as of right now, it's the quickest way to getting slightly out of focus pictures. And most of the time, I'm pretty darn sure you know whether your subject is sitting still or whether they're moving. So instead, we want you to take the time to use your brain and go ahead and set this on your camera, so that by doing so, you're going to get many more pictures that are nicely sharply in focus than the vast array of those that you're probably getting that are some that are totally blurry and are focusing on the wrong thing. So to go ahead and do this, on a Canon camera, I can show you. You merely press the AF button on the back, and it will give you the options of one shot, AI focus, or AI servo. You can just go and then press set on any of them and it will switch over. In Nikon cameras, what you'll need to do is you'll press the I button, go in, and then you'll look for where it says either AFA, AFC, or AFS. And you'll switch it depending on the subject matter of what you're taking, to whether if it's just sitting still to AFS or if it's moving to AFC. The nice thing with the Nikon cameras is it usually actually gives you a picture to give you an idea of, okay, subject is moving. It's like a surfer and going along. And it'll show you for single shot just a flower sitting still. For AFA, it'll show you a thing with arrows back and forth. So it's saying you don't know whether it's sitting still or it's moving. Now, there are limitations to the one of when it's moving, this AFC or AI servo mode, the continuous following there. It functions very well when there's plenty of light going on. It does not function very well when there is low light. So in that situation, say you're at a reception at a wedding and it's low light, or you're at a bar, or it's just later in the evening and you're taking shots of people who are moving. In that case, if you're finding that it is having trouble focusing, the images are coming out really kind of blurry and that, you're going to want to go ahead and switch it back to AFS, or that single shot mode. Why do you want to do that at that point? Well, it is easier for it to focus, and also it enables your camera usually to use some type of assist light that it may have for going ahead and focusing on your subject. It may be that it does a burst of flash that it uses to light it up briefly so it can find a focus, or it may be that it even does an infrared type of signal out there that it uses and projects a grid onto your subject. Either which way, it's going to make it easier for your camera to go ahead and focus. So again, first, if your subject is moving, go ahead, try that continuous AFC mode, AI servo. If you're having trouble with focusing on them there because it's low light, go ahead and switch it over to that single shot mode, AFS. And that's pretty much it for the different modes.